10 random magic cards rated day number 24. I have a sheet of paper right next to me, and I checked it right before I hit record, and yet I still had to check it. So that's my brain. Let's look at cards. You guys want to look at some magic cards? This first card of the day is Anya, Merciless Angel. I've never seen this card. This is 5 mana. Boros Angel. Okay. 5 mana, 3 a red and a white for a 4/4 angel with flying, because they have flying. It gets +3/+3 for each opponent whose life total is less than half of their starting life total. As long as an opponent's life total is less than half their starting life total, Anya has indestructible. So she just kind of like chills in your command zone while you do Boros things, and then you play her and you have like a 7/7 indestructible flyer. And even then, it's not great. This is actually probably more than 99 of an Angel's deck, right? Am I crazy? This is probably a 99er, if I had to guess. So it actually is kind of expensive, right? From Commander 2015, $250. Commander Anthology, $321. But if you get it from Murders of Karlov Manor Commander, you can have it for less than 1 American quarter, which is kind of an interesting price spread on cards like these. I guess Commander Anthology Volume 2 is not the highest print run I've ever heard of, but still, to go from, $2.50 to 21 cents is kind of amazing. Either way, I guess it needed that reprint. If you're trying to play Angels in Commander, I guess I'd throw this in the 99 somewhere, but more or less all I do. I mean, like maybe Boros, just any Boros aggro deck. Do they want this in Commander? Do they? I don't know. You tell me. I don't think so. I don't think so. This is pretty specifically Angels, and even then, like, do you play this? I don't know. So I am going to. Hey, I misread it. Yes, you don't have to comment. You don't have to delete your comment either. Just to let you know, you don't have to delete your comment. It gets +3/+3 for each opponent. So reading the card does in fact explain the card. That is a true thing. So it can be a 7/7, a 10/10, and then all your opponents are dead after that. I was going to say it could be a 13/13, but you've won the game at that point. So yeah, 10/10 at the highest. That's fun. Doesn't really change my opinion that much. It went from a big dude to a big dude. It's a lady. But I'm a dude, he's a dude, she's a dude, because we're all dudes. What does this get? Can I ask the audience? Can I phone a friend? Can I have one ask the audience per video? What do you rate this card? I've never seen in my life before. If I had to blind rate it, I'd say like 5.2. Yeah, something like that. Something like that, I think. Sure, 5.2. Let's see what's next. It's Morale. 2 mana, 1 a white and a white for an instant. All attacking creatures get +1/+1 till end of turn. Funny thing about this card is I pulled it out of a pack of 4th edition once. Actually, I pulled it out of a pack of 4th edition hundreds of times. And one of the times that I pulled it, I was like, man, this card sucks. I keep getting this card, and this card sucks. And my buddy, he'd been brought up here on the channel a bunch of times, actually. Kevin, the guy that taught me how to play Magic. He's like, oh, you think that card sucks? Card sucks, right? And I was like, yeah, a little bit. He's like, I'm going to build a deck with 4 of these. I'm going to show you how good this card is. And he did. Both things are true. He built the deck, and he showed me how good it was. Turns out White Weenie, with an Anthem effect that you don't see coming until after you make your blocks, is... And I knew the card was in the deck. I knew he built the card around the deck. Or he built the deck around the card, rather. And I'm still just blocking up like an idiot. I'm 11 years old. I've been playing Magic for 3 weeks or whatever. And blow me out with a morale. So lesson learned. And for teaching me that lesson, I am going to give morale. Ooh. First of all, I'm going to look at the dark one because it's like one of my favorite sets of all time. The dark might be my favorite set ever. God, it's so beautiful too. Mark Poole, man. Like super simplified lines, and like it doesn't look like, I don't know how to say this without sounding super insulting. I'll just say this. Mark Poole did a lot with a little. You know what I mean? Back then, they were not, we didn't have the artist. I don't know. I just really don't want to sound like I'm insulting Mark Poole, one of the most legendary Magic artists of all time, because what I'm actually doing is complimenting him. Again, look how simple this art is, and look how amazing this art is. Look at the way the light is playing off of his the crest of his helm. That's incredible. Look at the way the light is playing off of his gauntlets and his shoulder pads and stuff. And look at the way the shading on the flag is done. Kind of Bob Rossi, where he's obviously like whited out some of the red right here in the paint. Just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful card in a lot of ways. And I've talked about it for too long because I'm stalling. I'm going to give this card a 4.1. Really, I should give this card a 3. I should give this card a 3. It's not good. It's kind of technically never been good. But, you know, I've had at least 5 buddies that play Magic, and I'm sure you have too, that are like, oh, you think this card is bad? Oh, you think this card is... And then they make a deck, and then they trounce you. Or it sucks. You know, it could go the other way. Anyway, we'll move on to Young Blue Dragon here. This is 5 mana, 4 and a blue for a 3/3 Drago with flying. But it also has Sand Augury. For 1 and a blue, it's a sorcery adventure. You can scry 1 and then draw a card. Fine. Magic card, right? It's just fine. I mean, it's all Commander, huh? And no one's going to play this in any format but Commander. So how good is it in Commander? Not actually that good. I guess scry 1, draw a card's fine, but you could do so much better. And yeah, I get that it's attached to a creature, but it's a 5 mana 3/3 flyer. Like, so, you know, so it's actually an okay Magic card, but I'm not going to give it more than like a 4, you know? I should give it more than a 4. I should give it a 4.3 because if I'm keeping track of all the things I've given 4.4s, they're probably better than this. I'm going to stick to 4.3 here. We'll look at Pendrell Flux here. Only ever printed in Urza's Saga. This is 2 mana, 1 and a blue for an enchant creature. An aura that enchants a creature, they say. Enchanted creature gains during your upkeep. Pay this creature's casting cost or sacrifice it against Perma Echo. When I looked at this card back in the day, I used to be like, man, this card's terrible. I look at it now and I'm like, okay, it's not bad. I think this is actually meant to stop giant reanimatable dudes that, you know, hit the table on turn 2 or something like that. But it's also just meant to be decent Rebluval. Rebluval back then didn't even tap the guy down half the time. It's just like, well, I guess if they can pay it, they deserve it. And it's like, no, I played a card out of my hand and paid mana. Like, come on, dude. So I guess I'm coming back around to this card kind of sucking. It's not that bad. I mean, it's annoying. It's a pretty intense tax effect depending on what you put it on. But I'm still not going to give this more than like a 3.9, you know, and it does not deserve that. But I'm recording 3 videos in the series today, and I just feel like I am extremely generous, and the cards are capitalizing on that, and that's fine. They deserve it. Good Magic cards are cool. Move on, though, to the Belligerent. I love this card, man. 4 mana. 2, a blue, and a red for a 5/5 legendary vehicle, and when it attacks, you create a treasure token. Until end of turn, you may look at the top card of your library anytime, and you may play lands and cast spells from the top of your library. You crew this for only 3, so it's a 4 mana, 5/5. It's an artifact. That's worth something. Whenever it attacks, you just get a treasure. You don't have to deal combat damage or anything like that. Just whenever it attacks you, a treasure token. And it kind of draws you a card. It can draw you multiple cards. You know, in a turn, this can draw you a bunch of cards, technically at least. So I honestly, I still think this card is busted. Like, it's actually very, very good. And there actually have been some decks, mostly on MTGO, and one that I remember seeing on Melee that did play this card. There was a Grixis sort of mid-range deck at the beginning of OTJ Standard that went like 6-3 at, I think, Big Magic. But you know, if I'm not getting that event right, please. I got everything else right. So but I'm pretty sure it went 6-3 at Big Magic. And it had 1 to 2 copies of the Belligerent, and I think just 1. So this card has shown up every now and again. And like I said, it's been in like Pirates decks on MTGO League results and stuff like that. It's kind of a finisher, really. But, you know, 4 mana, 5/5, make a treasure when it attacks is almost good enough. And then, you know, it also kind of draws you cards. The card just does everything. It's a huge, efficiently costed creature that ramps you and draws cards. Sure, you have to crew 3. I don't care. So many things. Yeah, I can swing that, dude. So I'm going to rate this pretty high, guys. I'm going to give this a 6.3. And there's nothing you can do about it. Please don't stop watching my videos. I still think, though, that this is a more than solid Magic card. I have given better cards than this. A 6.3, and I've given worse cards than this a 6.3. Actually, I don't know if I've ever given a card a 6.3 in the history of this series yet, but we're only 24 days in, so who knows. I'm sure there'll be plenty of 6.3s, but I'm serious. I really think that this is, and will be for some time to come, like a more than solid Magic card. It could even be a boat. As a matter of fact, it is. Let's move on though to what the heck are you? Oh, it's Aether Vial. We've already done Aether Vial. We have already done Aether Vial, everybody. So cheers, Aether Vial. Let's keep on moving here. Nissa Vastwood Seer is 3 mana, 2 and a green for a 2/2 legendary elf scout. And when it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic forest, reveal it, put it in your hand, shuffle up. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, if you control 7 or more lands, exile Nissa, return her transformed into Nissa Sage Animus. This is a 3 loyalty planeswalker. +1, reveal the top of your library. If it's a land, put it onto the field. Otherwise, put it in your hand. -2, you get a 4/4 legendary green elemental creature token named Ashaya, the Awoken World. And for -7, you get to untap up to 6 target lands, and they all become 6/6 elemental creatures that are, of course, still lands. This card is really good, man. This card did a good bit of work while it was in Standard, first of all, when Magic Origins was around. It didn't do as much work as, like, the Jace that was in that set. It was like $95 or whatever it was, but this card did show up a bit, and it's easy to see why. 3 mana, 2/2, go grab a forest, so it kind of replaces itself by sort of drawing a card, making sure you get your 4th land drop. And then later on in the game, you get a Planeswalker. And that's just good. You can go up to 4 and draw a card or just get some value. That's good. Throw it onto the table. Or, immediately get a 4/4 and have a 1 loyalty Planeswalker. And this is all good stuff, man. This is all good stuff. I feel like we get to 7 mana like pretty quickly now. And as a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure we had some variant of Explosive Vegetation in the format that was making this card playable when it came out. So... a 4 mana, go grab 2 lands, put them on the table. Explosive Vegetation. Right now, the Explosive Vegetation in Standard is Invasion of Zendikar, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, anything that wants you to have 7 lands out, pretty good when you have that kind of card in Standard, and Nissa was. And I think Nissa still is good, especially in the context of a Commander game, where, I don't think she's seeing too much play in Modern, unless I'm just wrong, But in the context of a Commander game, it is really not hard to get 7 lands out. But once you do, you're rewarded with a Planeswalker that is just kind of fine. It's just kind of okay. It's not amazing. It's just fine. So I have to give Nissa a 6.6. And I'm really verging on 6.5, but I just gave a card like a million times worse than her, like a 6.2 or 3. So 6.6 is probably where we're at on this. So let's keep on moving here. To Forethought Amulet, only ever printed in Legends. It should be on the reserve list, right? Yeah, it's $21. So it's on, yeah, it does say part of reserve list. Never ever seen that on Scryfall in my life. I've never noticed that on Scryfall in my life. This is 5 mana for an artifact. Pay 3 during your upkeep, or Forethought Amulet is destroyed. Let me read the Oracle text. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice it unless you pay 3. If an instant or sorcery would deal 3 damage or more to you, it deals 2 damage to you instead. This card's not good. This card, especially when it was printed, this card is just meant to get you from getting hit with to keep you from getting hit with a big fireball, disintegrate, hurricane, earthquake. There were a fair number of X damage spells in very early Magic. So I guess this protects against them. Turns lightning bolts into shocks before anybody knew what a shock was. I guess this is kind of neat sounding in Commander, right? But even then, 5 mana for this effect. And you have to pay extra mana. You have to pay 5 to get it out, and then you have to pay more mana for it. This card's terrible. A whole bunch of turns are going to go by where it literally does nothing. At all. So this card's pretty bad, dude. Actively bad, I'm not sure, because actively bad would just be a 1. Actively hurting you and doing no good for you whatsoever. And honestly, we're really close to that, so I'm just going to say 1.1 for this card. That's probably correct. Moving on, though. Let's take a look at Tovolar's Huntmaster. This is 6 mana, 4 and 2 green for a 6/6 human werewolf. And when it ETBs, you get 2/2 green werewolf creature tokens, or just wolf creature tokens. Also has Daybound, perhaps the worst mechanic of all time. If a player casts no spells during their own turn, it becomes night the next turn. Tovolar's Pack Leader is a 7/7. This is what it transforms into when it's nighttime. When it ETBs or attacks, create 2/2 green wolf creature tokens. You still get your 4 power. But you can also pay 4 mana, 2 and 2 green, to have another target wolf or werewolf you control fight a creature you do not control. Seems really cool, man. I wanted this card to be like kind of fine in standard. It never really was. If you're going to be 6 mana and played in standard, you got to be really, really good. And there's just way better stuff to do for 6 mana. The whole time this card was around, I mean, we skipped right up to 7. This card just rotated, you know. You could say this card technically hasn't rotated as I record this video. But yeah, we were skipping up to 7 to play like Atraxa, Atali, Behold the Multiverse. I think it's the black card that like you mill 10 off of like each player's library or whatever it is, and you get something from each. I think that's what it does. I can't remember. It's been a while since somebody's played it against me. But it's Breach the Multiverse. Behold the Multiverse is a blue card draw spell, 4 mana with Jumpstart. You draw 2 cards. Okay. Nailed it. But anyway, my point was that we have so many 7 mana cards that are amazing. We just skip right to that. We didn't even really mess around with 6 drops too much in the last couple of years. And Huntmaster really was not great. But I do think it's a fun card. I do deduct some points for Daybound, though. I really don't want to keep track of that in a Commander game, so I am going to say 5.2, man. But this may be the rule. I can break this rule anytime I want. So how much of a rule is it? But Daybound makes cards 4.9s. You know what I mean? Cards are just 4.9 because they have day and night bound. But nah, if I'm being serious, 5.2. It is a little better than it looks, but it's not great. I guess if you want like a way to fight stuff in your green deck, it helps you do that. Next is, oh, buddy, it's Intuition. Ooh, it's Intuition. We got 2 reserve list cards today, ladies and gentlemen. Tempest. This card from Tempest is $165, but if that just isn't enough for you, there's the Judge promo from 2003. It's $800. The one we started on, $800 Magic card right here, ladies and gentlemen. I have seen this in a lot of players' binders. I have seen this card in a bunch of players' binders over the years. So that's neat that people just have an $800 bill and walking around with it. But the one from Tempest, actually they both say this. 3 mana, 2 and a blue for an instant. Search your library for 3 cards and reveal them. Target opponent chooses 1. Put that card into your hand and put the rest, here's the catch, into your graveyard. And then shuffle. If the term exile had been around, and remove from the game has been around forever, right? Like Swords to Plowshares removes the creature from the game. But I feel like if exile had been like a real thing back then, this would have exiled the other 2 cards and it would have not been very good. You know what I mean? But considering this puts the other cards that your opponent doesn't let you have into your yard, Intuition was almost effectively like an instant speed draw 3 a lot of the time. It almost does not matter what card they let you have. And if they let you, if they put the wrong thing into your graveyard, you can just reanimate it. So sometimes the right play for them unintuitively, you see what they did there, is to give you the best card. Because if they put the best creature in your yard, you're just going to spend way less mana reanimating it and be like, thanks. You know what I mean? Intuition is a banger of a Magic card. It really is. The reserve list is a big part of the price here, but there are random reserve list cards from Tempest that are rare and did see play and are not $165. This does still have some demand in terms of playability as well. So I've always loved Intuition. We ended the day with a massive bang, dude. So I have to give Intuition like an 8.3. And if it doesn't look that good to you, play against it. Make that decision. Make that decision. What 2 are going in my hand, what 2 are going in my yard, because I guarantee I'm actually just drawing. It's not draw 3. I kind of undersold it earlier. It's not draw 3. It's tutor 3 at instant speed. 8.7. You know what I mean? Like this is one of the best Magic cards of all time. So 8.7. I'm boosting it and I'm sticking to it, ladies and gentlemen. So what a way to end a Wednesday. You know what I mean? Happy hump day, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Bye.